a lot of the friction and the tension is a feature, not a bug. Let's just say that a lot of this tension is good tension, is good friction. What I'd like to call out is what is bad. There are maybe a few categories I want to go through that I consider bad friction. So first one is the lack of friction altogether. In my view, that is bad friction, because in that case, what has happened is everybody's staying in their lanes and everybody's doing this, just pointing fingers elsewhere. As an ambitious product person who wants to build successful products, for me, that has been the most frustrating situation, because nobody wants to take responsibility for anything other than this is the narrow job I'm supposed to do. So if it's something in this narrow range, then talk to me. Otherwise, I don't care. I just want to call out that is an example of bad friction. Another one where there are arguments, fights, and they are related more to titles. Well, this is what design is supposed to do. This is what engineering is supposed to do. This is what PM is supposed to do. I'll give you an example of something that is happening these days a lot. Here's the reality. Product marketing used to be a very important function in the 90s at tech product companies. In fact, back then, it was common that product management reported into product marketing. So product management would report to the VP of marketing. That was very common. Over time, maybe 15 years between the year 2000 and 2015, what happened is product management took away most of the strategic aspects that required intuition, aspects that required market insight and all of that stuff. Product management took away most of those, if not all of those, from product marketing. And then what ended up happening is now product marketing in most places, some people say, oh yeah, isn't that the team that writes the blog post? Or isn't that the team that manages launches or that creates the product video? So what is happening currently? There are a few things happening actually. Product operations is starting to take over some of the operational aspects of what marketing owns. So that's interesting, like launch management and a few other things. But leaving that aside, focusing on PM and design and designers are saying, well, we want to own strategy. We want to own the product strategy. In some companies, this is happening. Like we want to own product strategy. Why do we want to own product strategy? Because you need research and you need this sense. Look at Brian Chesky, look at Steve Jobs, they're designers. They're so awesome. And so now there is this tussle between product management and design of owning strategy. Again, if it goes back to, oh, this is what this title is supposed to do, that's a problem. Because ideally, look, in a PM guided culture, which I believe is the ideal culture, you should try to sustain a PM guided culture as long as possible. Ideally, in a PM guided culture, what happens is, in some cases, design may own strategy, a designer may own strategy, but that's because the PM doesn't have yet the maturity or the competence to be owning product strategy. So in those cases, it's fine. But if it's only centered around title, if the VP of design is like, well, Chesky said this at a conference and Chesky is amazing, we need to listen to Chesky, right? That's going to create a lot of unhealthy friction. So last example I'll share of just bad friction or tension is when the conflict is more around what will make my life easier or what will make my functions life easier than around what will it take to win. And I know this sounds like, well, of course, yeah, that's bad. And the reason I highlight this is if you're a leader, it's your job to call it out. It's your job to call out the elephant in the room. And this is especially common with engineering teams, but it's not restricted to engineering teams, where most of the friction is related to what's going to keep engineers happy. And not just that, every single engineer on the team needs to be happy. Otherwise, PM is not doing their job or design is not doing their job. Here's the reality. In high performance teams, it's a fact. Not everybody is going to be happy all the time. Each of you should think about whatever dream job you have. I'll bet $1 million on this. Even in your dream job, you are going to have friction. Even in your dream job, you're not going to be happy all the time. So we have to forget this fantasy of being happy all the time. And if I have a bad day, that means the company is toxic. That's nonsense. And some of this nonsense you're getting fed by the social media. So just be aware that it's not necessarily the case that anytime you're unhappy for a day or a week and you didn't get your way, that means you need to create friction around you. So those would be a few examples that I would share that not many people will tell you about, but are, I think, examples of bad friction.